What's up, everybody? It's another Wednesday night, June 26th, episode 27. June 26th is a special day. Special day for the Morgan Thomas Show with Big Al, Alan Adams. That's because it's the day I proposed to Audrey. But it's also another very, very special day. And that is because it's our co-host, Alan Adams' 21st birthday. I think that's right? 21st birthday?
One can only hope. Would anybody buy that on the show is what I'd like to know.
Well, shave your little goatee off and we'll buy it, all right?
That's right. I do have a little baby face when I shave the goatee.
Well, I don't know what you're doing here. You should be eating some cake and ice cream. Miss Debbie should be hooking you up with your special dinner of the night. I don't know why you're here with me, but you're crazy enough to join me on the show. We actually had a show, believe it or not, on January 3rd, which was the day before my birthday, but not my birthday. So you being on your birthday on the show is extra special. So happy birthday. If you're watching the show right now, I know you got about 10 people watching right now on the show, getting loaded in and joining us, but make sure you wish Alan a big happy birthday from everyone who's watching the show. Happy birthday, Alan.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's been a busy day, a good day, but a busy day. I mean, who couldn't have a great day when they're at the SCDOT, right? All right. Nothing ever goes wrong there. Everybody's always happy with what's going on. I transitioned from there to youth, from youth to here. It's a Wednesday night. I'm talking Tigers. It's a good birthday in my book.
Well, that sounds good. That means a lot to me. I appreciate it. Hopefully the internet doesn't go down. Nothing crazy. The dog doesn't bark because it's, she likes to do those things. But what can go wrong will go wrong. But I ran over a pothole today in your honor of your birthday. So I just want to let you know.
Please call the maintenance department.
It was a perfect circle. So it had to have been done by you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you again for joining us, Alan. Thank you for joining us. Tonight's show is brought to you, as you know, if you've been watching us, you probably do know this, Black's Tire Inc. in Westminster, South Carolina, family owned and operated since 1971. If you need new tires, brakes, alignments, tire repair, or just looking for a friendly professional to help answer your questions, stop by Black's Tire Inc., located 1415 East Main Street, Westminster, South Carolina. Give them a call, 864-647-9292, or check out their website in the show comments. We have it pinned up there for you so you can go check it out. Alan, it has been an interesting week, at least at work, for both of us.
Yeah.
It's a little bit slow for Clemson as far as news goes. I was kind of nervous going into this week that we might not have anything because it's what you call the dead period as far as recruiting goes. We've had a lot of really cool recruiting talk, but the dead period, if you don't know what that is, the dead period is when coaches cannot have face-to-face contact with college-bound players or their parents. They can't watch them compete. They can't visit their high school, but they still can write them and they can still telephone them, which I guess that means text and call. It says telephone, but yeah. I don't know what telephoning someone means anymore. Texting.
Nobody telephones anybody.
Texting is where it's at. But They can still do that to the players and the parents during the dead period. Dead period lasts until the last week of July, and then we expect some players to start coming and visit during that cookout, I think, is when the last week of July is going to be. But, other than that, we've got the Rivals 100 5-Star Challenge just finished up today. It's in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, brings together the nation's top 100 toughest players in high school to go toe-to-toe. It's one of Rivals' big showdowns between them. Mm-hmm. There was a video Alan and I saw has been going around. Jason Priester posted it of where Brian Bresee just annihilated some poor offensive lineman and did a little push-pull move, and the guy was eating the turf. What'd you think about that video?
Yeah, that was as filthy as you'll ever see. Instant reaction, obviously, from everybody there. And of course, the fans are going to eat that up until he gets on campus. They're going to love this guy. He seems like he's the next Christian Wilkins, the way he plays, how powerful he is for his size, and the way he moves, even the way he acts. He's got the same kind of personality. He's really outgoing, big time recruiter. Clemson fans are going to love Brian Bresee.
Yeah, I already love him, and you do too. We had some talk about him, so check out the YouTube page. If you haven't seen our YouTube page, we've got 81 subscribers so far, trying to get to 100. Remember that goal that I was talking about? We want to get to 100 so we can have a custom URL. So help us out, get to that 100. On Facebook, we just went over 700 followers, so thank you so much for the love and support, and continue follows there. Let people know, like this video, share it with your friends so that you can get the word out and help us with the show. players on or at the Rivals 100
Mhm.
showdown, I guess you could say, the challenge, the 5-star challenge, were
Yeah.
Walker Parks,
Mhm.
Brian Bresee, we already said, DeMonte Capehart, and then you've got some targets. Eric Gilbert's a tight end, 5-star, may not be able to get him anymore. Justin Flo, we just went over him last week. Noah Sewell, we went over him last week. Philip Webb's there too. We went over him last week. And Tony Grimes, who's a 2021 number 2 overall cornerback, and he's been offered just a couple of weeks ago as well. So be on the lookout. We're going to be making some evals on him as well when we get some more film on him. We're going to probably wait till he gets his junior season out from under him, because you don't like to see sophomore stuff. He's kind of hard to tell. But so a lot of Clemson players at that challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, they've all looked really good for the most part. I think DeMonte Capehart, from what I've read, he had a good showing, nothing special. He'll probably pretty much stay pat in the rankings, I would imagine. Walker Parks is desperately trying to push for 5-star status. He looked really good going up against some of the best defensive ends in the country. As soon as he can put on some more weight in college, and some good weight, he is going to be an absolute handful. Hopefully at left tackle, obviously. He's just showing better and better. He was a 3-star when Clemson was recruiting him out of Kentucky, and now he's one of the top 4 stars. Hopefully he'll be able to get his 5th star before all is said and done. Bresee, obviously, like we talked about before, is just manhandling people out there. He's just too powerful. He's too powerful. He's too quick at that size, and it's just, you're not going to be able to handle him. I think there was a guy named Aaron Parks, maybe AAYRN or something like that, or AARYN, I believe, who actually did really well against him in his reps, but he's the guy that I was able to see that was able to slow Brian Bresee down at all. So he's kind of one to look out for as a prospect going forward. I don't think he's coming to Clemson, obviously, but still got to give him some props for slowing down what I consider to be one of the top 5 players in the country, and so does pretty much everybody else.
Yeah, and there's a couple of pictures of Brian Bresee with Justin Flo, giving some little selfie, and
Clemson
so
love.
I want to see it. You got the number 1 defensive tackle, and then right behind him the number 1 linebacker. Whew, yeah. That would be amazing. But let's get on started into our topic number 1. I know everybody's like really excited for these topics. We got some really good ones coming up this tonight. So let's get into the first one. The first one is a topic that I kind of spoke a little on during my segment with Mark Childress back before Father's Day on the Roar 105.5 with Mark on Saturday morning. It's a great topic, I believe, because it's something that I think all Clemson fans would really love to have, and that's that Heisman Trophy, that one trophy that Clemson does not have. So we wanted to talk about, expand a little bit more. I don't know, is that the right word? I don't know. But go a little bit further into that Heisman Trophy talk to see if he could really do it or not, kind of talk about what our thoughts are on it. Deshaun lost it. He had a good chance. He lost it because, to be honest with you, he wasn't flashy enough. And in my opinion, he was really good at the postseason and winning championships. Just, during the season, he had kind of an interception bug a little bit that people kind of picked on him a lot about. Lamar Jackson won it. And Alan, what the players said after he won it, they said, "How do you win a Heisman?" And the players on Clemson said, "You must have to lose your last 3 games."
Right, absolutely. And that's why a lot of the reason is I think that people wanted Deshaun to win it. Obviously, he was able to have postseason success as well, but we all know that the Heisman doesn't always take that into account. And we're always going to be bitter that Deshaun didn't win it because we thought he was deserving and, best player, best team kind of thing. But we move on to Trevor Lawrence, and is he going to be able to do it this season? Well, the answer is, of course, yes, he can. Will he is a different story, and we'll kind of dive into why he may not be able to have that kind of real easy road like everybody thinks. After you watch the national championship game last year and he won 44-16, completely dominating who most people thought was, one of the best teams of all time in Alabama. A lot of people assumed he was going to be the front runner, going into next season. But really what's happened is you see Tua Tagovailoa at the top of the Heisman odds going into the season, and people are kind of like, well, what's going on there? Well, there's several reasons for this. One of the main ones is Clemson likes to spread the ball around, and that includes the running back. We have a very special one, by the way, of Travis Etienne. He's going to get a lot of good carries. That's going to take away passes from Trevor Lawrence, plain and simple. All right, that's going to take the balls away from Trevor that he can throw 50 yards downfield to Justin Ross and to T. Higgins and all those kind of players, okay? That's going to take opportunities away. Also, and I think one of the bigger factors in this is the fact that Clemson plays a ton of guys. Okay, I'm pretty sure last year they averaged over 70 players a game, which, if I'm not mistaken, blew everybody else out of the water. I think the next closest team was like mid 50s or something like that. Clemson plays a ton of guys. People get a lot of reps. That means you might not see Trevor Lawrence come fourth quarter a lot of games. You're going to see a lot of Chase Bryce, maybe some Ben Batson, maybe Tyson Pomachan. But that's going to take away reps for Trevor Lawrence. Clemson does this for several reasons, obviously. They want to, take several players. They want to have fresh legs come the end of the season. Obviously, that's a strategy that has proven to work out. So we've seen success with that. And, then you have the fact that this prepares them. This prepares them for the next step to be the man when their name is called upon. When these guys graduate or they go pro early, obviously this is another thing that is going to benefit from playing all kind of guys. So as long as Dabo Swinney is focused on winning the national championship, winning the Heisman would be great, but national championship first and foremost. Anything else, icing on the cake.
Yeah, I agree with you. National championship obviously is number one on the list for sure. And when I was on the show, I felt like I was really negative against Trevor Lawrence having a chance. And the more I kind of dug into it, I thought, he has a better chance than I wanted to give him credit for on the radio. I looked at kind of like what other players have done, what other quarterbacks have done to try to analyze. I went nerd out on this. I nerded out on this. So nerd alert. But I looked at other players and I thought, okay, well, what did Deshaun do? Well, Deshaun had a good running back, Wayne Gallman, right? I feel like though Deshaun and Wayne had to win a lot of games though. They didn't get to coast on a lot of the games. A lot of it had to do because of Deshaun throwing interceptions and keeping the other team in the game. Even though I love Deshaun, don't get me wrong, I really do. He's my favorite player ever. But Deshaun didn't win it, and he had over 4,500 yards passing, over 40 touchdowns. And I told you a couple of weeks ago, I felt like that you need at least 4,000 yards passing. You need at least 40 touchdowns, in my opinion. The big thing with Deshaun, though, is, like I said, he had a ton of interceptions. Really, and we'll get into it a little bit further, really you can't have more than 10. If you're going to really be realistic, if you get more than 10, people start wondering if you're just, Brett Favreing it all over the field, which I don't think is a bad thing, to be honest. Yeah. But can Trevor win one, and will he win it this year? That's the thing. Can he? Yes. Will he? Well, we'll have to see. Well, statistically, if you look at, let me pull it up here real quick. I got a little screen here. So I've got it broken down between the past Heisman winners that I felt like were good to kind of analyze. And Alan can't see this, so I apologize, Alan, but I sent it to you, I think. You can look at it on your phone. But so you got Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Jameis Winston, Tua Tagovailoa, and Dwayne Haskins. And I've got all the things that they did either last year or the year that they won the Heisman. And I have highlighted green. It was the best number for that stat in that column. And I have highlighted red, the worst stat for that column. So if you really look at it, I'm looking at the average is you don't need to have more than 400 pass attempts, and Dwayne Haskins had more. So Dwayne Haskins had a ton of passing yards, 4,831 passing yards last year, but he had so many passing attempts, over 400, that I think that hurt him, right? So you have to stay around 400 or less is the key. The next key is you have to be at least 4,000 yards passing. Right. Unless you're going to be like a Lamar Jackson, as you can see there, where he had 1,500 yards rushing. And he was the only player, or the first player ever, to go over 3,300 yards passing and over 1,500 yards rushing in college football. So you have to kind of break a record that's never been broken, or, hit a ceiling that's never been hit before, right? So Lamar Jackson is somebody who I think is an anomaly. He's not like Trevor Lawrence at all. So I think you got to get rid of him. You also have to kind of get rid of Kyler Murray because he had 1,000 yards rushing. Trevor Lawrence is not going to do that. But if you look at Tua and you look at Dwayne, Trevor can definitely get 200 yards rushing. Sure. And that's what they're probably going to get. So Trevor needs to get around 200 yards rushing. Can Trevor get 40 touchdowns? Well, he had, I think, 32 or 30. Right. So he didn't play a lot of games last year. So I think he can definitely get 40 touchdowns. Can he stay under 10 interceptions, which you see the only person to win it that was at 10 or above 10, or at 10, I guess, is Jameis Winston back in 2013. He had 40 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. The key is, though, how is he going to me, and let me bring it back here, how is he going to differentiate himself? So we looked at the stats in each column, passing attempts, passing yards, touchdowns, interceptions, rushing yards. I think that he can can meet each one of those requirements or hit the averages of the past quarterback winners. But the question for me really is, how is he going to differentiate himself? Because I believe that Tua can do the same. And is he going to have opportunities to differentiate himself? Because as we've seen last year, they killed Louisville and he only had 59 yards passing. He can't afford to be taken out of the game with 59 yards passing. If you notice that he leaves really with less than 150 yards of what I've seen, Tua left a couple of games. He had almost 4,000 yards last year and left a couple of games at 120 yards passing because they were killing him. So I think you can afford 120-yard games, but you can't afford a 60-yard game. You have to be able to get into triple digits on passing yards. And so will Trevor be able to do that? That's my thing. You already have your five keys: over 4,000 yards and under 400 attempts. Throw for less than 9 interceptions. Don't lose a game in the regular season. That's another thing I think Dwayne Haskins had against him. And get as close to 200 rushing yards as possible. But the problem with all of that is that how can he differentiate himself from Tua? I don't really know the answer to that, to be honest with you. I mean, and another thing that, like you were saying, the Wake Forest game, the Charlotte game, the Wofford game, the open date in November, which I feel like is a terrible time to have an open date just a few weeks before the voting.
Yeah,
I worry that he's going to be on the bench a lot in November, and it's going to really hurt him then. That's how I feel like we know what he can do in the postseason. We know what he can do with all the lights on him. But when it's like, what have you done for me lately? And all they've seen is just him beating up or sitting on the bench, beating up average teams or sitting on the bench, then that's not going to be good for his resume. And, they like the flashy guy. They like the Johnny Manziel. They like the Lamar Jackson guys.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, when you talk about how he can differentiate himself, I'm sure he can, to be honest with you. I think really one of his best opportunities, maybe, passing percentage or something like that, completion percentage. How many passes can he complete? I think that's probably not a very likely option for him to, kind of differentiate himself, because there's a good chance he's going to be going deep a lot. And those aren't always, the best balls, 50-50 balls, as people like to call them. We like to think, the Justin Rosses and the T. Higgins of the world can make those 50-50 balls 90-10. I know that's what Jeff Scott wants for sure, but it's just not very likely. I think you kind of said it best. You want about 4,000 yards, couple hundred yards rushing. I think he's fully capable of both of those things, even if he comes out of most games early. Of course, this is assuming no injuries. Knock, please, on anything that you can find, because we don't want him being injured at all. But I think maybe if he's kind of gets the reputation, best player, best team, it doesn't always work out that way, but I think that's the best way to differentiate yourself. Be the best player on the best team. Hopefully, people will still have 44-16 in the back of their minds come the end of the season when the Heisman voting takes place, and maybe, just maybe, Clemson can get there first.
I agree with you there. I think you can't lose a game, and you got to do whatever you can to beat out Tua, because Tua is going to be able to match your numbers because of how they're just so similar. And I think Haskins is going to be able to match it too, or even exceed it because of how much they pass. The key is who's going to lose the first game. I think, and then also is, being able to play towards the end of the season is big for me. Yeah. But that's it, man. That's it for the first one. Let us know in the comments what you think about, will Trevor Lawrence be able to win the Heisman? Not can he, we know he can, but will he? And let's give a shout out to people I'm seeing on the show so far in the comments. Yep. Travis Sanders, Kevin Shaw, Stephanie Fields, Mary Beth. Oh, well, actually, I'm not supposed to say Mary Beth. You say that.
No, you can say that.
Evan Brummel, my dad, Jenny Lynn, welcome to the show. Kevron, and we got David Stone, Joshua Caleb, a couple other guys. I saw Gary McDaniel in there. So welcome to the show, everybody. And again, give Alan a shout out. Happy birthday, Alan, in the comments. Let him know this is big birthday for him. So I want to show him some love. And thank you for joining the show. Make sure in the comments, let us know if you think that Trevor Lawrence can win the Heisman.
Yeah, I saw Joey Thomas, and my parents were watching as well. So thank y'all for joining the show. What's funny is I'm supposed to be the one here to keep you on topic and keep you on time. And I'm sitting here looking at the time. Man, we finished half the show 7 minutes early. But that's not the case. We're just through one topic so far. I was getting really good topic there for a minute. I thought you had turned over a new leaf. But let's jump into topic number 2. You ready for it?
All right, so topic number 2 is going to be Clemson's Atlantic Division staying power. How long will Clemson stay on top of the Atlantic Division? This is one I kind of thought of earlier on in the week. I felt like, man, it would be nice to know, nice to kind of predict. And all we're doing is we're estimating, guesstimating on what we think. We can't really see the future, but we can do our best guess. And I wanted to get that projection to kind of realistically predict when they will fall from the top of the Atlantic Division. My dad said it best. He said, Not while I'm alive, and I don't know if he knew what I was asking him, but I hope that that's true. If you constantly win the Atlantic Division for the next 30 or 40 years, that would be, well, let me not say 30, let me say 50 years at Dad.
Yeah,
Let's say
keep
50
him alive
years.
as long as possible.
I would love to see 50 years of Dabo domination.
Absolutely.
The good thing is, though, it is hard to predict, and it's kind of nice to be in this situation where it's not easy to predict when Clemson could have the slightest sign of a crack. But what do you think? So what kind of research, what kind of thoughts do you have on it?
Well, my very first note, as far as, how long can Clemson stay on top of the Atlantic? My very first note says until Dabo leaves. And what's crazy about that is, I don't even know that it's going to stop when Dabo leaves. Dabo has a plan. Dabo always has a plan. Okay. When somebody leaves they retire, they move on to a different job, they get a promotion, whatever it is, he's got a plan in place for that person. I feel quite sure he has a plan in place when he leaves. They've studied the culture. They know what he's all about. They know how he's built it. And I'm sure they'll be able to keep it there. Why would anybody think that Clemson is going anywhere as long as Dabo's here? You want to sit here and you want to be a realistic fan and think about just how long this type of unprecedented success could take place. And you don't want to say, well, they can do it, for the next 50 years. But at the same time, you look at it, the way we're recruiting right now is the elite of the elite. All right, we've got a good plan in place, great coaches that like to stay here. I mean, when can you honestly say that we're going to take a step back? I don't think you can right now. And that's a very good feeling to have as a Tiger fan. One thing I did when I was looking at this is I thought FSU was obviously, our biggest foe in the Atlantic and probably the ACC in general. They have been a powerhouse before. They could very well be a powerhouse again. As a matter of fact, I'm sure they're going to take some steps forward under Taggart. Will they get all the way back? I don't know. Florida State, very, very successful program in the past, very fertile recruiting ground. So they will be back. We're just not sure when they will be back. And something I'd like to get your take on, and not only yours, but the fans as well. Please leave us a comment down below what you think. But I wanted to take a look at, besides Florida State, who do you think could challenge Clemson and knock them off the throne in the Atlantic? I mean, is it NC State, Louisville, Wake Forest, Syracuse, Boston College? Who do you think it's going to be? Who do you think has the best chance to do so?
Well, it's so interesting. We don't share notes, but we're so much alike on how we think and how we write our notes and what we think is going to happen. To answer your question, I really don't think that there's another team that is realistically going to challenge Clemson in the Atlantic Division, unless there's something like a Lamar Jackson type player that comes along that can light up the scoreboard and can win the Heisman Trophy and just be the flashiest guy on YouTube college football searches. I just don't see it happening. Really, I like to lean heavy on guard play in basketball, and that's how I kind of thought of it in this case. So, I talk about NCAA, I say Clemson needs some good guards, better than what they had last year, some consistent guard play. Well, in football, they need a good quarterback and a good defensive line to be successful. That's my opinion. Clemson's obviously built a history, a legacy around the defensive line. They've had a great defensive line since 1970? I don't know. I mean, not maybe a great defensive line, but they've always been able to consistently get good defensive linemen. Going back to William Perry, now all the way, Gaines Adams, you got Brinson Buckner's, Chester McLaughlin's, now 3 drafted in the first round this year. So every decade there have been plenty of defensive linemen. There haven't always been stud quarterbacks until now, back to back, right? Until the late 2010s, 2015, 19s, 20s, right? So that's my thing is, can they keep up with the quarterback powerhouse? Can they keep up with the defensive line powerhouse? And I like the way Dabo did it because he started with something that he knew that he was good at, which they always say, start with your strengths, right? Don't worry about fixing your weaknesses. Start with your strengths. He started with the wide receivers, and just knew that he could develop wide receivers, trusted his gut and his talent in being able to develop wide receivers and recruit them. And he did so. And then what happened? You started getting a ton of really good wide receivers. Then all of a sudden, hey, I'm a quarterback in Cartersville, Georgia, or in right outside of Athens, and I want to go, or Gainesville, right? And I want to go to Clemson. And then all of a sudden you get some star quarterbacks, and now we've got 3 star quarterbacks in a row, basically. Yeah. So to me, that's what I look at. They seem to have success with the defensive line consistently before even Dabo was there. So just the fact that Dabo is continuing it shows that that's kind of, I think that's more of a school legacy thing. That's just, you just had so many that were so good for so many years that I think even someone that's not Dabo might be able to get some good defensive linemen. But as far as the quarterbacks and stuff, that's something that you really haven't seen until you got Dabo into it. So if you look at it, well, you got Trevor Lawrence. How long's Trevor Lawrence staying here till? Well, we know he got him this year, right? We've got him in 2020, right?
Absolutely.
And then who do we got after him? Well, in 2020, DJ is going to be a freshman, going to be competing for that. We know DJ is the number 1 overall recruit, quarterback, a pocket passer just like Trevor. So 2021, DJ's sophomore year. 2022, DJ's junior year. So you really can't say, and those same years with DJ are the same years with that monster defensive line we just signed, or we not signed, that have committed, rather. Sure. Monster defensive line that's committed. So you look at it, and to me, I'm like, okay, well, in that case, I don't see any letting off the gas until really, or any cracks until at least 2023 season, which you know, I mean, that's like 3 seasons out. So that's crazy. I mean, more than 3 seasons out. So that's crazy amount of years, just back to back to back, top of the Atlantic. I look at Florida State. Well, Florida State, Willie Taggart, you know, they're a top 25 recruiting class, but they don't have, there's no Mario Edwards. There's no DeMarcus Christmas. There's no Jameis Winston on their recruiting board. And they're getting a bunch of 4-star guys. They're having a real hard time getting any 5-star guys, especially in those 2 key areas, which I say quarterback and defensive line. They last year they got a good amount of defensive linemen in their recruiting class, but this year they've got a quarterback that's I think Jeffrey Sims. I mean, he's another like way undersized guy. He's probably 150 pounds soaking wet. So yeah. I don't really see much out of their quarterback position or out of their defensive line. I don't see any big-time stars. They don't have bad players, don't get me wrong. They're getting top 25 recruiting classes. Right. But compared to the team that they got to try to beat off the top, they don't have that quarterback. And my thing is, if you're not beating Clemson in 2019, 2020, 2021, then 2022, then people are like, well, Willie, are you really turning this around? It's 2022 now, and if they reset at head coach again after 2022, I think you could probably make an argument for Clemson basically going, I'm going to say at least, when's the first time they won the ACC? What year was that?
We need Tim Beret.
Yeah, we need Tim Beret for that. But let's just say we know it was 15. Was it 14? Let's say they won at 15. I mean, I could see them, if you're talking about we're already at 2023, let's say Florida State resets again, you're looking at 2027, you know, give them another time to rebuild and reload with a new coach.
Right.
To me, I mean, I know that's crazy to say because that's so far out, but I'm saying Dabo's already built quarterbacks and defensive lines. I'm thinking to get him 10 years.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with any of that. But see, here's the thing. You said you don't even see any chance of a crack until 2022, 2023, and all that kind of stuff. You're missing one very important thing. Dabo and company ain't going to stop recruiting between now and then, okay? They're still going to be trying to pull in all these 5-stars from everywhere across the country, receivers, quarterbacks, offensive, defensive linemen, okay? They're still going to be recruiting. That's why I can't honestly say right now I see this going anywhere ever until Dabo leaves. Okay. Again, I'm not saying that's a certainty. I don't want to sit here and act like Dabo is the greatest coach of all time, even though he very well may be by the time it's all said and done. But I can't sit here and tell you that it's going to stop anytime soon either.
So my final year prediction, if you want to tell me the exact year, I'm going with 2029. I'm going a nice decade of Dabo dominance for the Clemson
2029.
Tigers.
Well, I'm going to double you up and give you 20 years of Dabo dominance. Okay. I'd really like to, quadruple or quintuple you up, but I'm going to be conservative for today and just go for 20 years.
Let's just up the ante and do a millennium of Dabo dominance because of his head coaching succession plan that we know he has in place.
That's right.
Dabo dominance, then Jeff Scott dominance, then Jeff Scott Jr. dominance, then whoever, then maybe Taj Boyd comes back and dominates. Then maybe Chad Morris's son comes back.
Yeah.
And then Jake Venables comes back. It's just going to be an amazing amount. Talk about a coaching tree that we're talking about in 2029 or 2039, as you're saying. What a coaching tree. Get out of here, Nick Saban, with your coaching tree.
Unfortunately, by 2039, we may not have football anymore. So yeah.
Oh wait, okay, all right. Hurt. Now you're getting political here. Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to steer too deep into politics on this show for sure.
The 5-star recruits are all going to come from the transfer portal.
That's right. Exactly. That seems to be the direction we're heading.
All right, Al. Well, we had a long first segment, but we had a pretty decent second segment. We're at 9:04, so nobody's holding the clock. I don't have Ramona back here yelling at me.
That's right. That's a good thing. We don't have a hard break.
Let's jump over to halftime and tell you a little bit about our halftime sponsors. Al, take us over.
Absolutely. Mid-show sponsor, Heating Cooling Services, Inc., family-owned and operated, serving Anderson County and surrounding areas since 1980. Heating Cooling Services, Inc. is your residential and commercial comfort expert. Anything from preventative maintenance of your home HVAC system to overhauling a commercial chiller and everything in between. If you want to breathe easier and be nice and cool in your home or business this summer, give Heating Cooling Services, Inc. a call. Call Mark or Jason at 224-7655. And, of course, that's area code 864-224-7655. They will take good care of you.
Now, I've got this thing down here that says phone lines are open.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, we have a phone line, but nobody ever calls it. So if you want to call it, it's 864-881-2008. Just like the radio, I got it on my cell phone. Hopefully it doesn't go to voicemail. I don't know. Hopefully I'm setting it up right. But it's Google Voice, so it should be able to work from wherever you're at. It's not, it's 864 number, I know, but it is a Google Voice number. So give it a shout if you want to talk about anything we've already talked about. Trevor Lawrence becoming Heisman winner in 2019, and then when will Clemson fall from the Atlantic Division? Give us a shout. Let us know. If you don't want to give us a call, that's okay. Don't want to give us a call, that's okay. Let us know in the comments what you think. Hey, by the way, if you're watching us and you're in the comments, give us a like and a share. There's a little blue like button. Hit the like and make sure it's got a little thumbs up. And then there's a red heart. If you want to give us a heart, maybe you love us. We would appreciate that. And then there's another thing. It's called a share button. Make sure you share it with your friends. Let them know that the show is live right now. Tried something new this week. I posted like a scheduled, hey, we're going to go live thing. So I don't know. I wanted to see what would happen so I wouldn't have to share everything during the show and try to frantically do everything. It's definitely caused a lot less stress for me or alleviated a lot of stress for me. So, but let me know what you think about the show. Let us know what you think about it. Hey, by the way, before we go on to the next topic, we have a YouTube page. It's over on YouTube. If you check it in the links on our description of this video and some of our other videos, you'll be able to check out that link. Go to the YouTube page. We currently have 81 subscribers. Our goal is to try to get to 100 subscribers so we can have a fancy custom URL. So help us with that. We've been growing like 2 or 3 people a week or a day on the YouTube channel, and we're actually growing a ton on Facebook. We have over 700 followers right now, and I think this week alone we've had over 50 extra followers. So awesome. Thank you so much for the support and encouragement from everybody. We try to give you the best Clemson Tiger content on Facebook, on social media, and so we're glad to have you join us. Let's go over to topic number 3. Topic number 3 is our top 5 list. What you got, Al?
Yeah, buddy, top 5. See, here's the thing. The top 5 list we have today is top 5 under-the-radar Clemson players for 2019, okay? Here's where things get a little iffy, all right? I begged your humble show host, Morgan Thomas, to give me a list of people we could not pick, okay? Because there is some fierce debate as to what can be considered under the radar, all right? So if you hear a name and you sit there and think, they're not under the radar, give us a little slack, okay? Because it is up for debate for sure. Are we going to go 5 up or are we going to go 1 down?
Whatever you would like, but I want everybody to know that I did give you a stipulation that they couldn't have scored a touchdown in the national championship game. And I also said it'd probably be good to stay away from players who are on the poster of this year's Clemson schedule poster that they got out. By the way, this year it's purple.
Those things would have been good if I knew who was on the poster.
You don't have a poster, Al?
I don't have a poster. You haven't given me one yet.
Wow. Okay, well, somebody's watching this show and has an extra poster. Give us a message. Hit us in the DM and give us a message, and we'll get Alan. Let's get Alan that poster. It's purple this year, though. It's kind of interesting. I've had a white one. I had an orange one. This one's purple. It's kind of cool. But I've kept all the ones from the national championship teams. But let's just start from the top, my friend. Let's start from the top.
Start from the top. Number one, I have Jackson Carmen. A lot of people are probably saying that's not really under the radar. I haven't heard a lot from Jackson Carmen in the offseason. Obviously, he didn't get to play a lot last year. We've been spoiled over the last 4 years and had Mitch Hyatt absolutely anchoring down that left side of the line. I mean, even as a true freshman, this kid didn't let anybody get to the quarterback, okay? He allowed like 5 sacks, I think, in all 4 years. That is an absolutely insane stat. What's even more insane is that he didn't get drafted. He eventually signed with the Dallas Cowboys, but he did not get drafted, and that is absolutely criminal. It's hard to look at a former 5-star player as an under-the-radar guy, but like I said, you just haven't had a ton of offseason talk about Jackson Carmen. Most people, when they talk about him, want to talk about his weight. Can he keep his weight under control? Because this guy can move very well for his size and can really anchor down the left side of that line. So I believe if he can keep that under control, he's going to have a good season at left tackle. I think he can learn the playbook and get there as a sophomore. So hopefully we won't have too much drop-off between him and Mitch Hyatt over the past few years. But I've got him anchored down at the left tackle position as my number one under-the-radar guy.
I like that. I really haven't. I didn't put any offensive linemen, so go ahead and beat me up for that now. I don't know much about evaluating offensive linemen unless they just knock people over. I feel like Jackson Carmen, maybe I should have given a stipulation that 5-star players could not be used because, I just love having stipulations or changing the rules during the show. But I'll allow it. My number one is a guy that kind of showed out during the spring game for Trevor Lawrence and a guy who's going to have to take over for that Amari Rodgers position. And so I'm going with Cornell Powell. He showed a lot of experience during the spring game. He was able to get around a lot of people, get open in the zones, kind of stopped his routes while Trevor Lawrence was scrambling out to the outside, which is exactly what Dabo Swinney wanted from him, is to kind of not always rely on staying in the pocket, even though we know Trevor Lawrence can kill anyone and drop dimes anywhere in the pocket. But Dabo encouraged him and wanted him to work on rolling out of the pocket while still looking downfield. And you look at 3 or 4 of those plays, who did they hook up with? They hooked up with Cornell Powell every single time. And Cornell was doing a great job just sitting in that zone because, it's very hard to beat these guys man-to-man, especially you got DK and A.J. Terrell and Isaiah Simmons. A lot of guys out there, Tanner Muse, that are out there going to cover you hard, straight up man-to-man. And so when they have a chance to sit in the zone, you got to take advantage of it. And you also have to show that you have some chemistry with the quarterback. And so I like seeing that in the spring game, and he's not really a guy you hear much about. Didn't play very much last year, and so I'm going with Cornell Powell as my number one.
That is an excellent number one pick. As a matter of fact, now that you say that, I'd really like to add him to my list somewhere. Okay, I'm a little embarrassed.
Honorable mention.
Cornell Powell, because like you said, he had a great spring game. Number two, I put Justin Foster. Justin Foster is somebody you never hear anything about. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a good chance he starts at defensive end this year. Okay, opposite Xavier Thomas, of course. He was initially recruited as a linebacker. Things didn't really work out at linebacker. He put on a lot of weight. I think the initial plan was to put on a lot more weight and have him at defensive tackle. That didn't work out. Now he's back, slid out to end. And he showed some flashes over the past year and in the spring game as well. I've really liked what I've seen from him. Nobody talks about him. I think he has a chance to have a really solid year at defensive end.
Well, I like where you're going with the defensive end. I actually picked another defensive end that I think is probably going to beat him out. So here's my guy, is Justin Maskell. I think that Justin showed off. He was in that play where he almost bowled over Dabo Swinney and Kirk Herbstreit during the spring game, and they all joked about it, and he was super fast on that play. But I remember 4 or 5 months ago, Cleveland Farrell was being interviewed, and he said they said, who's going to take over for you? And he said, I went up after the national championship game, and I said to Justin, the baton is yours. Take it. It's yours for the taking. The starting position is now open, so go after it. Go make this season yours. And he was talking about Justin Maskell, and so that's why I picked him as my number 2. I like Foster as well. I think that the defensive line is not going to be near as bad as what some of the maybe ESPN or Alabama fans want it to be. I think that defensive line is going to reload, and just like the linebackers, going to be names you don't really know, but you're going to learn very fast.
Right. Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. As a matter of fact, I really hate to do this. I don't want to give you a big head. Okay. It's not something I enjoy doing, but I'm also embarrassed that I did not put Justin Maskell on my list. I think that is another excellent call, and you'll obviously be, rewarded with fan praise for that in the future. That's another excellent call. I think that's a good job there. I have number 3, Mike Jones. Okay, Mike Jones. I actually switched out him for another linebacker. This linebacking core hit with a lot of losses this year. Trey Lamar gone early in the NFL. Kendall Joseph gone to the NFL. Shaq Smith transfer portal. Okay, a lot of people thought he was going to be kind of one of the studs this year, the 5-star who's finally ready to break out. He is now gone. Somebody's got to step up. I love what I see from Mike Jones. Great athleticism. Did a good job in the spring game. He really gets after it. I think there's a spot for him at the linebacker level. I hope Minimals can find a way to get him on the field because I like this guy's ability.
Yeah, I like that one too. So you're picking players that I'm not picking, which is awesome because we don't go over this beforehand. So if you're wondering, right, do we coordinate? No, we don't coordinate. I thought we were going to have an overlapping player by now, but we haven't. And I didn't pick Mike Jones. I did pick a linebacker, but and I noticed that he was on the poster, so I violated my own rule. But it's my show, so I'm gonna violate my own rule however I want to violate it, Alan. And you can't say anything about it. But I went with my number 3 of Chad Smith only because nobody knows him. He's a special teams player. He actually, you look back at his rival film from high school, he was their star linebacker. He was their star running back, which I love the linebacker running back combination because everybody talks about, oh, he's not fast enough. Oh, he's not quick enough. If you're going to be the running back on your high school team, you better be doggone fast enough and quick enough. And he was, if you look at his film. And by the way, he was rated a 6.0 4-star. Yeah. You know how you get a 5-star? 6.1. Right. Okay? So he's not that far off from having a 5th star. He just didn't get it. And, we know that we don't need to rely on stars because Vic Beasley was like a 2-star athlete or 2-star tight end or something like that. It was crazy depending on where you look at it. I know there's probably 6 people saying, oh, no, he was a 3. Oh, no, he was this and that. I know that there are many different recruiting places that we look at, but I will say I know that he was at least a 2-star somewhere. So don't at me about that. But I went with Chad Smith. I know he's on the poster, but I have a lot of confidence in him. He's been the backup middle linebacker for quite some time, and I think he's the guy that knocked that other Smith out of the starting lineup that actually made him go to Maryland and take his book bag somewhere else.
Yeah, picked up his ball and went home. I like number 4. I have Xavier Kelly. I really, really want this kid to get his shot. Okay, I want him to make the most of it. He began his career as a DE. Obviously, he was a very highly regarded defensive end. His career's never taken off, mostly, I believe, due to his moped accident he had his freshman year. If y'all don't remember that, he got hit while sitting at a stoplight. He was not wearing a helmet. So he's had to kind of be on the comeback trail ever since. I think Clemson saw an opportunity to put some weight on him and kind of have, one of those quick twitch bodies at defensive tackle, to provide a little more of a pass rush. I saw that recently he tweeted out that he was over 300 pounds, which is a very good sign. I'm hoping he's carrying that well. And he's adjusting well to the playbook and the role at DT. I'm really looking for Xavier Kelly to break out and provide some big-time depth on the defensive line.
It's funny that we did this because you're talking about positions, and I'm following you with position. I'm just not following you with the player. Right. Which is great because as we're kind of hopefully showing the fans that are watching, there's a lot of players that are ready to step up, that are ready to get their name on the posters, that are ready to be said in the stadium and be talked about on ESPN. You just don't know them yet. And that's why I say just have faith in that defense. We know that we don't know a lot of them, but they are good players. They've just been waiting. And the ones that wait the longest are the ones that are the hungriest to get out there and dominate. I didn't say Xavier Kelly. I didn't remember that he had. I misremembered that he got in that moped accident.
Yeah.
I like KJ Henry as well, but I didn't pick either one of them. I went with the guy that was voted as next year's or the most up and coming defensive player in 2019 and at the end of the year's award ceremony. I went with Jordan Williams. All right, he's a big dude, already big, got hurt and had some problems during the spring, so you didn't hear about him much in the spring. Didn't hear about Niles Pickney either. But I think Jordan Williams is a guy, obviously, if the other players had voted for him to be that up-and-coming defensive player in 2019, I got to put him on this list somewhere. He's not on the poster. He wasn't seen very much in the national championship game. He wasn't seen at all in the spring game or in spring practice. But let me tell you something. Come August, it's game time, baby, for Jordan Williams. And like I said, he's going to be a guy I think you're going to be hearing a lot in the backfield, and a lot of other teams are not going to like his name.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. It's funny you mentioned Jordan Williams because he was going to be on my list. And this is, I think, where our lists are coming in different, are how we're interpreting under the radar. Because
Right.
You're right, you really haven't heard a lot about Jordan Williams. But when all the people left on the defensive line, especially at defensive tackle, everybody knew Niles Pickney, Jordan Williams were going to be your de facto starters.
He was the guy.
So I kind of steered clear of him as far as under the radar. But you're right. You haven't heard a lot about him because he's been injured. And we just got to hope he comes back ASAP and comes back healthy and is able to get back in game shape, because I think that's a great pick. Number 5, I know you didn't match this one either because you said you didn't pick any offensive linemen. And I hesitated to pick this one as an under the radar as well, but I have Sean Pollard, senior offensive lineman, been moved around his whole career. You know, he came in at right tackle. He was thrown into the fire at the middle end of the season. You know, we went on our national championship run with Deshaun Watson. A lot of concern, you know, going up against Alabama's defensive ends, and he handled his job really well in that game. Did a great job. So expectations kind of skyrocketed. And then for whatever reason, the very next year, he didn't play very well at right tackle. In fact, he got kind of booted down to the bench, I believe, for quite a while there. You know, he looks to play guard or center most likely this year. I think they're trying to groom him as a center. Can he snaps with the velocity that he needs to be an effective center? I don't know. We'll see. But I think it's best case for Clemson if he's able to take control of that role at center. So obviously you want to keep Jackson Carmen at left tackle. You want to keep Tremaine Ankrum at right tackle. And then, you know, John Simpson, Gage Cervenka, and then Sean Pollard at center. So I'm really hoping he takes care of that role. If he doesn't, obviously you'll see somebody slide in like Cervenka, and you maybe have Sean Pollard move around to a guard position or something like that. But I'm really hoping it's center.
Yeah, I read somewhere where that Ankrum and could take over the left tackle position
yes, correct.
If Carmen doesn't really work out or something happens, because some people have said that they're worried a little bit about his footwork and being able to get off the ball quick. I don't know. I think there's going to be a battle there with the center position. I think Cervenka is going to go has been going after it hard too. But I like that. Like I said, I'm glad that you did offensive lineman, because I definitely didn't give the Beard Gang any love. I don't know if they're the Beard Gang anymore, but I like that Beard Gang thing.
Oh, yeah.
So for number 5 for me, I now that I'm looking at it, I did way too many defensive players. So forgive me in advance. But number 5, I did Jake Venables. Hey, if you're gonna be Daddy's boy, you better dominate. Now let me tell you something. I told Mark Childress this too. If you're gonna be Daddy's boy, and you're big enough and you're strong enough to be a linebacker, and you've grown up with Brent Venables in your house as your dad for 19 years, it's game on when you get on the field, because you ought to know every single play in the playbook. You ought to know every single audible. I mean, it's be like a nursery rhyme. This playbook, this Clemson playbook, should be like a nursery rhyme to you. You should know it. Back of the hand type stuff.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying Jake Venables. I think he was another reason maybe why that other Smith player went and took his book bag to Maryland, because this is a guy who it's easy to say, oh, Daddy's boy, you know, getting special treatment. But, man, he rocked Tavian Feaster in the spring game. And he had a couple plays. You know, he missed a coverage. T. Higgins scored a touchdown, but, hey, it's T. Higgins. So, come on. T. Higgins, give him a break there. But I will say that he's got the height. He's got the weight. He has to me, he has to know the playbook. If he doesn't, then, I mean, what are you doing? But So that's why I picked number 5, because I think if anybody is to show up and show out, it's somebody who grew up in with Brent Venables in his house.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and bow to your list as superior this week. I'm very
Oh, get
proud
out of
of
here.
all your picks there. Very good job, Adam Holland. Thanks for joining us. Chase Wall, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you guys giving us a look. Hey, don't forget, like and share the page. That's how we get our love spread around the world. Okay, like, share, comment, do whatever you got to do. The more people, the merrier. Morgan, we got about 5 minutes left, and all we have to talk about is about 4 different players. All right, last topic. This is a very popular topic. You need to kind of sell this to the fans and how good this has been doing on Facebook.
Yeah, but by the way, I think I noticed something when I was looking at my phone. The way I shared the post today, I had a scheduled share, so I didn't have to share it during the live show and be all frantically clicking buttons everywhere before the live show. I only have like 2 minutes before the show starts, and I'm doing like 16 things at once. But this time I pre-shared everything earlier today, so I noticed that when I went into the shared stuff just to see, there's people watching that are watching in watch parties. And this is kind of like a separate party or separate video from the main post that's on our Morgan Thomas Show page. So if you're watching, we can't see you if you're at a watch party, but we appreciate you watching us and joining us and show us some support. Go over to the Morgan Thomas Facebook page, give us a like on the page there, and then, hey, check out our other videos that we have there, or watch the live video while we're still live right now. We also have a YouTube page. Go check out the YouTube page. Got 81 subscribers right now. We just need 100 subscribers to get a custom URL, so go check that out. But while you're here, make sure to like, love, and share the post so your friends can hear about it. But what Alan's talking about is, let's go to topic number 4, the final topic of the night. What Alan's talking about is bringing back 2 former players for 2019. So I thought about this. This was kind of one of these quirky things that I thought of. Man, how are we going to have things to talk about? And I thought, let's get a question to the fans to see what they can do, because I know the fans love the opinionated posts that we put out to get their opinion on the Clemson team, right? And so this time it was, what 2 past players would you pick to play on the 2019 team? On the 2019 team, right? So there's 2 players that you can pick. The only rule that I put for Allen was there had to be 1 on offense and 1 on defense. So let's not do 2 on the same side. Now, right. A lot of people commented. We have over 2,000 comments. And I just posted this thing earlier today, I think. So 2,000 comments on this. We had so many people engaging and letting us know what their 2 picks were. But I got to tell you, I didn't agree with a lot of people's picks, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people pick the players that they love, and hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It's your picks. Right. Take it, enjoy your picks. I'm not going to say nothing bad about it. But what I will say is Deshaun Watson should not play on this 2019 team, okay?
Right.
You don't need Deshaun Watson because you already have Trevor Lawrence. So the way that I hoped, Alan, and it sounds like you did, is that it needs to be a need for the 2019 team, just not anybody that you want on here. CJ Spiller was another one that I debated on. I did not pick him, though, because Travis Etienne. I'm thinking starter positions. Same thing goes for Sammy Watkins. While I love Sammy Watkins, I do not think that he is going to fit in this team with as many weapons as they have. I did not want to take away from the 2019 team players that are starting right now. I only wanted to enhance the 2019 team. So that was my mindset. I know I couldn't get all of that in on the post because I just want to keep it simple for you. So whoever you pick, all love. But Alan, so who's your player on offense that you would like to join the team this year, come back from the past, put the pads back on, get the orange tiger paw, run down the hill?
Well, first of all, I see Adam Holland commenting, he said it has to be 1 on O and 1 on D. Your offensive player has to be a tight end. He's 100% right. I really wish he would give us his players before I was able to announce mine, but we're going to give him some slack there. Offense, I'm putting Dwayne Allen at tight end.
Oh, okay.
I assume a lot of people – excellent job, Adam. You got in there just in the nick of time, okay? Jordan Leggett's probably going to be a popular choice here. I think one of the main keys, not only to have a tight end passing threat, is to keep your quarterback upright. We all understand Jordan Leggett had some issues blocking. Dwayne Allen was physical enough to get that done, okay, while still being a downfield threat. So I am going with all the experience gone at tight end. We need a playmaker there. Dwayne Allen is my guy.
I love you, man. Happy birthday, Alan. I'm going to tell you this right now. We love Clemson football, and we're on the same page here. Hey, maybe we should watch a game together.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Nice change.
Biggest and maybe the only need on offense is tight end. And why not get a 500-yard, 8-touchdown guy that can also block and has a big body but has amazing hands in Dwayne Allen? I'm going with Dwayne Allen for my offensive pick, his tight end. I know they're like, oh, man, they both picked the same guys. We had a ton of people picking all of these great players. Yeah. And even Dwight Clark was out there. I can't say Dwight Clark because I never saw him play. I've seen replays of him play, and we all know film and replay only goes so far. You got to feel that player. You got to be there in the stadium with that player to give an honest pick. And I could easily have said Dwight Clark, but I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. There's another guy, I think Cunningham was another guy a couple people said for tight end. I don't remember him. I'm sorry, you guys, you legacy guys, you big Clemson fans since for 30, 40 years. I'm so sorry. But Dwayne Allen's the guy I've seen. I grew up watching him, and so I got to go with him. And I agree with you too, Alan. Jordan Leggett was my first pick. I had him written down. I had the notes down. But then I realized he's going to be going in the middle of the field. Cornell Powell's going to be in the middle of the field. Joseph Ngata's probably going to be around, Latson around the middle of the field too. So, to me, I don't necessarily think the middle of the field is much of a need as blocking and as just those red zone presence that Dwayne Allen was. Man, you got into the red zone and you could count on Dwayne Allen like all day for a touchdown. I can't remember what game it was where he was like falling backwards, diving, fell on his butt real hard and caught it. And I just remember, I think that was a very important play. I just can't remember what game off the top of my head, but I went with Dwayne Allen as mine. And let me give you my defensive player. Since you went first,
things get tricky.
Since you went first, I'll go first here. Okay.
Go ahead.
And
we will differ here. I promise you.
And I thought long and hard. I mean, we've been thinking about this for like 3 days. And I'll be honest with you. I know people are going to say no, but I mean, a lot of people did say this guy's name, so I'm more confident in it now. Adam, let us know what you think your defensive guy is. So defense is much harder. He's going to say Brian Dawkins. And I didn't see Brian Dawkins play. So as you know, my explanation earlier, I never saw him play, even though I think he would be a huge asset. I did not pick him. This guy is a guy that was just a pleasure to be around as a fan. He was awesome in the locker room. He was a leader. Even though I love Chad Smith, and I think he's going to be an under the radar guy, I think we do need a middle linebacker that has experience at that position, that has leadership ability, that's lovable by the fans, that's a poster guy, that's the middle of the poster type guy. A guy that came from North Carolina who, when he committed to Clemson, he did so with a giant smile on his face from ear to ear, and he never stopped smiling. He got drafted by, I believe, the Saints, and I'm going with Stephon Anthony. He had a huge interception, I believe, against Oklahoma in one of the bowl games. And
Ohio State, definitely.
Ohio State, yeah. And I feel like the reason why I want to bring him back, and there are better players than him on defense, for sure. I thought Chester McLaughlin. But then I realized, I hadn't seen him play. I saw him play in the pros, but I didn't see him play in college. But then I thought, Stephon is one of those guys that the Ben Boulwares of the world mentioned in his speech about building it but not winning it. And I would love to see him come back, as much as I know that he loved Clemson. And he could go to anywhere because he was a 5-star recruit. I even thought about DeAndre McDaniel. I thought about Shaq Lawson, Grady Jarrett, Chester McLaughlin. Like I said, there's all these guys I thought about, but I ended up giving it to Stephon Anthony because I feel like he's just that perfect player to go ahead and if we're going to win a championship in 2019, 2020, I'd like to see him with the ring.
Wow, that's a great pick. What's funny is, our minds are really going good with each other. We're really vibing. We're missing the players, but the positions we're doing very well on. It's funny. You scared me there for a minute. I was like, wait a minute, is he actually going to agree with who I picked? But what's funny is I don't have your rule. I don't have your rule of I had to see them play. I actually did see this guy play. I was just a little bit younger.
I already know who you're going to pick.
So you already know who I'm picking. It's most people think, he's the greatest Clemson linebacker of all time. I'm choosing Anthony Simmons. Okay. I debated a long time about this pick. There's a lot of things you could have done on the defensive line. Christian Wilkins, I really thought about him for a while, thought about Dexter Lawrence. I think our defensive ends are too good. I think there's too much talent there to want to replace one of those. I think our tackles have potential, okay? It was between defensive tackle and linebacker for me. Every year, we lose a ton of defensive linemen, even our tackles. Every single year, they say, how can they replace these guys? How can they replace these guys? And every single year, we have a dominant defensive line, okay? So I decided, you know what? Forget the defensive line. We need a guy over the middle that's going to completely dominate. Anthony Simmons was that guy. Super, super fast, incredibly explosive, loved to really lay the wood to people. Okay, this guy was fantastic. Yeah. I love Anthony Simmons. People, I think, would almost unanimously say, he was the best Clemson linebacker of all time. There's going to be some other names in there, the Stephon Anthony's, the Keith Adams, that kind of player, the Levon Kirkland. But Anthony Simmons is it for me. I hope he's it for you, and he is definitely who I would bring back on defense for this year.
My dad's probably saying like Anthony Wawa is what he always used to call the other guy, Anthony Waters. But yeah, I love that pick, and I hope that you loved the post that we did. If you didn't get a chance, man, where were you? We have over 2,000 comments on our post about what two players would you bring back from the past? What two former players would you bring back from Clemson's teams to 2019? I like where you went, though, because I think we were both on the same page. Yeah. It was best to not bring back a player that just finished playing. Yeah. I know that I would love to see Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow already played 10 years. Okay, we got to move on from Hunter. Okay, I think Dexter Lawrence would be great. But to be honest with you, it'd be so easy to pick somebody that just left because obviously there's a void there. So I didn't want to go further than 2,000, and so that's why I picked the two that I did. But I mean, there were a lot of people who picked Levon's, picked Anthony, picked they picked Dexter Lawrence. Christian Wilkins was a big one just because everybody loves Christian. To be honest with you, you can pick him too. I thought about Vic Beasley. A lot of people said Vic Beasley because, to offset Xavier Thomas. But I agree with you. I think defensive line is one of those things that a lot of people are worried about, but I don't think you should be. A linebacker is a place that I'm worried about not because I don't think they're good, only because there's really no experience there. Yeah. And there's the depth is really bad too. So, but if you looks like Brighton Constantine is doing good. He's recovering from his ACL surgery. I don't know if he's going to get to play at all this year, but he looks like he's not in a brace. I saw some pictures of him going around campus. It looks like he's doing good. You got a lot of Vontae Bentley, right? Vontae Bentley, yep. Kane Patterson, Keith McGuire. I know I'm missing another one.
Yeah.
And but basically you got a lot of recruits that came in, a lot of big time 4-star guys that came in, but have had no college snaps. And then you've got a lot of guys that are ahead of them that are redshirt freshmen, very limited snaps. Then you got the guys above them either redshirted or played on special teams, so very limited snaps there. So linebacker, I agree with you, is a place that needs it the most. So if you picked a linebacker, good for you. If you picked a tight end, duh. But that's it, guys. That is it for the show. Thank you so much. We had a peak viewers. We jumped up. Maybe those people who were watching from the watch party jumped on to our regular show over on our website or on our Facebook page, rather. If you haven't had a chance, make sure you like this post. Love it if you love it. And share it with your friends so that they can check it out. We'd love to bring as many fans as we got. Really, this is, if you think about it, how many other Clemson shows do you know come on weekly that talk about Clemson only? We're not ESPN. We're not going to talk about teams you don't care about. Other than on the radio, there's not, I don't know very many videos out there, especially on YouTube, Facebook. We're on Twitter, at Clemson Morgan, as you can see, at Clemson Allen. We're on Instagram as well. So if you want to check out Instagram, we put all of our clips on Instagram too. We got a lot of things going. Right now, we're over 700 followers on Facebook. Our goal is to get to 1,000 before the start of the season. We've had over 200 new followers. Alan, do you know when I did the post for 500 followers was back on May 15th? So in a little bit over than a month, we've increased by 200, which is awesome. We really appreciate it.
For you for tonight.
We really appreciate it. Throwing some stats out there for you. Al, we're about to sign off. Clemson Tiger fans, do you have anything, Al, before we see you next week?
Yeah, well, I saw Jimmy Stamey jump on us late. Jimmy, where the heck have you been? We start at 8:30. Please get in with us. I know you're a huge Tiger fan, and you'd love to hear a lot of what we talk about. Like, share the page, just like you talked about before. David, we appreciate the encouragement there. We hope you can get you some good content, every single week, and for a long time to come. So, guys, we really appreciate all your support. And Morgan, as always, awesome job. And hopefully, we'll be back again next week.
Hey, if you haven't had a chance, if you just got on, make sure to tell Mr. Big Al, Alan Adams, happy birthday. He is 21 for the 11th time.
There you go. 11th, 12th, somewhere in there.
Something like that. Happy birthday, Al. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. Hope you get a M&M McFlurry on me. I'll Venmo you after the show. Just let me know. We still got a lot of things coming up. There's some awesome things coming in the works. So stay with us. Keep watching us. Keep supporting us. We're working on the background. Not only trying to increase our followers and our subscribers on YouTube, but we got some things working in the background I think you're going to love. And hopefully be something new and different, exciting news coming into this August and this football season. I can't wait. I think it's like less than 70 days till college football. It's amazing. But as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.